For me, this is actually a really incredible thing. The ABCA is incredible every year, but it's a very full circle kind of moment. So I don't even know if you know this, but I actually have a picture in my office of you giving me an award in high school. So you were doing stuff with the baseball factory, and I was like a 2001, whatever it meant, baseball factory All-American. You gave an incredible speech out in Peoria and spent time with us and gave us incredible wisdom. So to be here with you now, like 25 years later, and getting the opportunity to pick your brain and talk some hitting with you is incredible. And I really appreciate how open you've been since we met, and just being a really good ambassador of the game.
Well, you're welcome.
Where's the other mic?
I don't know if we have another mic. It's a one mic program.
All right, we'll just pass it back.
We got to find another sponsor to do the mics. I'm just here to try and be a little bit of a help, or share experience, or answer some questions. I don't have all the answers. I've learned a lot of things the hard way, but I am open to learning. And one of the things I do a lot of is read. And I keep my finger on the pulse of the hitting space. I read a lot. I don't comment a lot. I read a lot. And then I find those that I follow, that I believe, and that I think can make me better, or I can learn from. And then I just kind of gravitate that way. But I followed you, and I was kidding. I told Eugene, I kept telling him, I'm looking for Eugene, I'm looking for Eugene. And they go, are you trying to lower your bar or higher your bar? And I said, I'm always out to higher my bar. He was an All-American, baseball factory All-American. And his content is solid. He does some things that I never thought of, but then when I'm thinking about it and I watch him do it, I go, that makes perfect sense. It's not hard, it's not simple, but it's digestible. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've been impressed with, is you're not trying to overcoach, you're not trying to verbally vomit on young hitters. I shared in there earlier today. When I see a hitter sped up, I just try and find a way to slow him down. And I see Eugene in that space, very creative as well, and the mustache speaks for itself.
Well, I appreciate that. That means a lot, especially coming from you. So what I was thinking of for this content, and what I was thinking when we were trying to talk through what this could be like, did you get to see the content that we shot with Lance, with Berkman?
I did.
Yeah. So that Q&A style, it was really incredible. And having the opportunity, one of the things that you always talk about is that you're not old school or new school, you're in school. And you're in school all the time. And that's a big part of what the book actually represents. Like when people look at my book and they see old school versus new school, sometimes they anticipate preemptively that it's one or the other. But in reality, what I'm talking about as a theme throughout the book is that the old school needs to come this way, the new school needs to come this way. But if I had to give the keys to anybody to be in charge, it wouldn't be anybody new, because none of you have any idea what you're doing in comparison. I can tell you right now firsthand, all of the old guys were right about everything. That doesn't mean that every single drill is working or will work for every single person. What it means is the principles behind everything that was being done, the why. And it wasn't until I started testing those things in a lab and started trying to seek the truth around, what does it mean if you tell them this or tell them this? What's actually going to happen as a byproduct? So enough of that. I want to get to the good stuff, okay? So when I got to talk with like Moises Salou or Davey Johnson, any of you guys, the amount of gold, you guys have forgotten more than the rest of us know because of the lifetime in the game and the way that you've lived it. Like the passion, the energy, the thought process, not just trying to win championships. You wouldn't be where you were if you weren't grinding on stuff all the time. So give me the top couple hitters you feel like you've ever been around, and what are some things that some of those guys did? What are the first things that come to mind when I ask you that?
Well, it's a great question. I've been a hitting coach for 6 years in the big leagues. I managed for 17 years, played for 10, so I have big league experience. That doesn't make you smart, because some of the best hitters that I've ever been around, if you ask them what they did,
they don't know.
They don't know. They just do it. And it's like singers. It's like actors. Some of them just have that ability. That's what they do inherently. That's what they were built for. I can tell you this, just to soften the blow, I've had 2 MVP players that I've been the hitting coach for. Larry Walker, Colorado, Vladimir Guerrero in Texas. And they were the least maintenance 2 men that I ever worked with in all my years in baseball. I did not go hands-on with Larry Walker until the month of August, because it was the first time he went more than back-to-back games without a hit. Can you imagine 0 for 8? He never went 0 for 9. It would have like 2 games without a hit, and then boom, it was a 2-fer, it was a 3-fer. So I'm going, okay, back away, because I'm kind of young enough and naive enough and full of crap enough to think if he one more day without a hit, he's mine. We're going to go in the cage. We're going to fix this, right? But it wasn't until mid-August, Larry grabbed me on the way out and said, hey, I'm just not feeling right. Do you mind working with me? I haven't worked with you all year. Yeah, it'd be my honor, you know? Vladimir Guerrero, the only thing I did was make sure he knew what group he was in. All I did with Vladdy, I would show Vladdy pictures, because we talk about learning your hitters. Know their heartbeat before you know their swing. And I'm big on this, because what I see a lot of, they don't even know people don't know who they're working with. They know the swing. They work with a swing, they don't work with a person. You find out what the kid's about, what's important to the kid. What does he want to be as a hitter? Who is he trying to copy? Is he capable of copying that person, that stance, that bat angle, all those different things? But with Vladdy, he doesn't speak a lot of English, not much at all. And he just doesn't like to talk. So what I would do with Vladdy, he was a visual learner. I would show him pictures of good hitting positions that I saw him in versus the hitting positions he was in right now. All I would do after the game is drop 3 or 4 photos off, say, Vladdy, Busca, look. He would, you go, gracias. I mean, he'd fix himself more often than not. But the two of those, it was amazing. But I knew my space.
Okay, so question now. So you said you gave him pictures to look at. What were the pictures of? Was it, say, maybe of landing position? Would that be a...
No, that's the great point. Number one, it would be in his setup, because just him getting ready. And I would show that normally pre-setup. He didn't like the video, so he liked still photographs. But I would focus on the hands, because sometimes his hands would be like this when he was usually hitting well. And then I'd show him a picture with his hands, like not even just getting in the box. It was already strangling the bat, whatever, tension. But then the first point went to what you can call the launch. Back. Now on? Yeah. I would show the launch, the landing spot.
And might I ask, Clint Hurdle, with all of your years of big league experience and MVPs you've been around, what, say, might a good hitting position at landing look like?
Well, for me, when I got into hitting...
Wait, hold on. Hold on, we're not going to do that, okay? Because I don't care about people's feelings, I care about truth.
Okay.
Okay? We're not in California anymore. So don't say for you, okay? Because for you doesn't exist. That's not real. If you have looked at the greatest hitters of all time and you've been around the game forever, stop playing around with it and tell them.
I'd look for...
It's really not.
It's really not.
Have you seen a Hall of Fame hitter land like that?
No.
Oh, huh.
It's basically, what I did first was I researched every hitter back to Babe Ruth, and I looked for commonalities. Where the front foot hit at the launch.
Figure.
All right?
Yeah.
When they went to impact, palm up, palm down. Where was their head? V slot with the arms. L on the backside, stiff front leg, head position. Most of them, after they hit the ball, their head's still in the hitting position. The barrel follows your eyes. You know, hitters that leave the ball early, usually their barrel leaves a little bit early. So that was what I showed with Vladdy, different spots in his stance when he was on time, when he was right, versus when he was wrong.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So if you saw a hitter, say, and they were at landing, and they were kind of like this, and then you see him go this way, would you say that that's something that you would see as a productive thing or a non-productive thing?
First, Eugene, I'd ask him, are you aware of how early that front side energy is leaving?
What do you mean by early?
If I would take him then back to boxing principles. If I was going to throw a punch to knock you out, I was going to throw a punch, and I'm going to sit up here to throw the punch. I got no green light. But if I was going to throw a punch from this position to knock him out, I'd step and I'd hit, right? I would not step, fire early, drop my back elbow, and then throw a punch. If I'm going to take that much time to unload the punch, he's going to hit me in the chin 3 times before I get my punch off. And with velocity the way it is today and spin the way it is today, I see too many young hitters fighting velocity with energy.
Wait, hold on. Now we're getting good, okay? So he said he sees too many young hitters fighting velocity with energy. That's a really interesting perspective. Could you expound on that a little bit, please?
I see a lot of body movement, when in reality, the harder they're throwing, the quicker it's getting onto you. The only thing you really need to do is get your foot down, get your hands in a good position, and get out there and tap it. I actually talked to him about tapping it. See if you can tap it to start. When you're throwing 100, why do I need a bigger swing? Why do I need to fight their velocity with more maximum energy or more moving body parts?
Hey, watch this. So you'll like this one. We had a couple of big leaguers in the shop last week, and I told the guy to try to slow his barrel down into contact, and the next ball was hit like 7 miles an hour harder than all the balls he hit the previous 20 minutes.
And that's what we see a lot of. You'll talk, old school talk used to be your swing's not connected. Your lower half is firing first, and your upper half is still...
but now people say that's what connected is.
That's what connected is, I guess, for some people. But you asked me how I would teach hitting. This is at least the conversation.
Well, the truth is that's not connected for anybody.
It's really
They're
not.
just using a really poor misunderstanding and misapplication of biomechanical principles. You got to understand something. If we get the people from Qualysis over here, right? Or we get the people from... None of those people have any... They're data people. They have no feelings. They don't care about... All of the coaches have feelings. They don't care. They care about data. When you have conversations with them, it's so easy to get their minds in the right place, because if you show them the data and then they say, oh, that makes sense, I can see how that would work, they just move along with it. But everybody else gets so caught up in, I was taught this, and I took the biomechanics course here, and it's not that. Guys, the principles get misunderstood. And I'm going to give you one right now, and this is a non-negotiable. And it's not an option. It's going to sound foreign to some people, but it's reality, and it's going to make sense. And that's where I've gotten to with all this stuff. If it doesn't make sense, I'm not in. Like, it's got to make sense, okay? If I'm golfing, okay, and I have a backswing, my upper body is rotating around my back leg, right? And if I do it far, my front leg is going to get pulled. It's getting moved. It's not doing the moving. It's not doing any moving. It's getting pulled. When I go the other direction, my upper body, the job now is to compress my front leg in between the stable ground and my pelvis like a pogo stick. That's what creates lead leg blocking, ground force, all of the good direction, right? It comes from up here. People hear ground force, and then they teach guys to get tense in their legs and push out. I was talking to Moises Alou on the backfields one day, and I said, okay, tell me something. What was important to you? What's a principle hitting? And he says, he goes, billionaires don't use their legs the way people think they do. Right? Like you can't try to turn here and have it impact this. That's not how the body works. That's a fact. Let me ask you a question about direction. So you can talk power, but what common things do you see with the hitters that hold their direction with the best adjustability ever?
I'd say it's balanced throughout their swing. And basically, I didn't realize I was talking about ground force back in the day. But there's so much to be said about the lower half position when the foot lands and you get your swing off. I shared something in there today. I mean, I'll take it way back to if I'm a left-handed hitter and I'm going to hit a ball hard to left field, my belly button should finish up facing towards left field. My direction is proper then. Center field, my belly button will finish towards center field. If I pull the ball, my belly button will finish towards second base. But what I'll see a lot of is I'll see the ball hit the second. You'll see the dead lower half, and then you see the over-aggressive lower half. The ball's away. I see this. There's got to be connection. You know, it's the old domino principle. You set them up right, and all you got to do is hit one. Usually the first one, if it's a good one, your launch is good, you got a chance for everything else to fall in place. But let me say one more thing about ground force. Because you initially said, hey, is there a hitter or two you've ever worked with where something kind of crazy happened and it just really worked? Okay? I have two instances as a hitting coach. The first one was Helton in Colorado.
Okay, what about it?
Good hitter, bat to ball skills, mad. Came in one spring, he says, I want to hit with some power. I said, okay, so how are you going to generate power? He said, I'm going to incorporate a leg kick. I said, so you think the leg kick's going to generate power? He says, yeah. He goes, well, what do you think? I said, I disagree. He goes, well, why do you disagree?
He's right.
He says, why do you disagree? I said, we're not going to fight about it. But you asked me, no, but we'll work on the leg kick. You want to do a leg kick? You're the hitter. Teams at bats. But let's work on it. That's the first year he put in the leg kick. I mean, he did put in a leg kick. What came from that leg kick was a conversation in the cage where he just says, my leg kick, my timing. I'm late. To this day, I've never had a hitter come in my office as a manager or as a hitting coach say, Clint, I got this problem. I'm early all the time. I'm too early. I have too much time to hit. So I said, Helton, do what you want to do. Get the leg kick off. It's not adding power. We'll prove it. I said, okay, let's go out the next day and hit. Go to your launch position. We're going to throw balls, and you're just going to hit from your launch position. No stride. Pick the heel up, put it down. He's hitting balls just as far, if not farther. The swing was better connected.
So I got news for you. We have a guy that we're working with right now. He's a minor leaguer, and I'm not going to say the organization. At some point soon, I might start to do that, but I'm not going to. The organization, he comes in his first year in pro ball a couple of years ago, and he rakes. He's an organizational all-star. And these morons tell him the next year that if he adds a leg kick, he's going to add power. And instead of hitting 290 with 17 and 25, wouldn't he rather hit 250 with 35? And he came back and he added the leg kick, and guess what? He lost power, lost timing, couldn't hit. Okay, we did testing with him this offseason. Want to hear something interesting, Clint? From a wide base launch position with this particular hitter, his exit velocities went up. With the leg kick, he could never hold the distance. He couldn't pull all the slack out. He's a catcher. He's a looser mover. So as soon as his upper body turns the engine on, the backside gets yanked with it. He doesn't have the brakes to be able to shut it down. He needs the wider base. So the things are not always as people think or as it seems. And sometimes something could work a little bit, but in reality, what does that mean? You could grunt, piss, get a shout out to KD, you could grunt, piss, and fart and add 2 miles an hour, but if you can't throw strikes now and your arm hurts, that's really not helping, is it? Right? So is there another way to throw hard? Yeah, but probably, right? So, as coaches, I think it's so important to stay in school like Clint talks about and to continue to have an open mind, to continue to learn, because so many things in this world are counterintuitive. I want to read this. I had this thought on the way here. I was watching a Jordan Peterson thing. You ever watch Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. The more people that watch him, that's going to be really good for this country. So I had this thought. Right, and it's based on the concept of self-care, right? And it brings about the understanding of how sometimes the what seems to be obvious or correct solution is not necessarily the right thing. So if you think about it, when would you need to pay attention to self-care the most, right? Oh, probably when you're going through a bad time. things suck. You don't feel very good about stuff. Things aren't going good. So people say, oh, you know, you're going through a bad time, so focus on self-care, prioritize that. Okay, well, some might be good, but usually if you're focusing on yourself, all that's doing is adding to depression and anxiety. Anxiety is this unknown thought of the future you can't control. Depression is the same thing with the past, right? Like, generally what is true is that if you're having an issue and life sucks for you and you want to feel better, stop thinking about yourself, okay? And go help someone else. Go be of service, right? Go have some gratitude. Be thankful. So there are so many things that just because it seems like it makes sense does not mean that that's the right answer to get you like where you want to go. It's the old hips versus hands argument. People could argue and say on the video it's the hips. Yeah, bullshit. The hips got to stop. Yes, the hips are going to go first. You don't have to try. You got to get them to stop as fast as you can, right? So just because they go doesn't mean you should have to think about that, right? And that's where people get it wrong. It's like they look at video and they say, oh, well, this hitter's doing this, so they must be trying to do that. Like, in my opinion, tell me what your thought is on this. So it's like all the greatest hitters I've ever talked to, I always ask, or people in the game, I ask this question. And I say, okay, I feel like what the greatest all have in common, it's not, they don't understand the biomechanics, I know that. It's not because they understand all of it, right? In my opinion, I feel like it's because they're connected to what they need. They don't know the biomechanics, they know what it feels like when it's right, they know what it feels like when it's off, and they know how to get it back faster than everybody else. Right? They just know what they need. They know the medicine they need. What are your thoughts on that? And speak to, go ahead. Just talk.
Well, it goes back to the point of a hitter knowing himself. Know yourself, like yourself, and then be yourself. Those are the three phases the hitters fight all the time. As soon as they're not getting the results they feel like they should have, they have a tendency to want to change something. You know, it goes back to how are you evaluating success? Is it numerical? Is it batting average? Is it OPS? Whatever you're hunting, I would find different ways to gauge the success of a bat with a quality, with a cue. How the good ones, they self-identify, they're self-aware, and then sometimes they need to be told, as a hitting coach, they would come to me, right? Ground out a second, help roll over, ground out a second. How's my swing? I learned over time, the first question I would answer him back is, did you get a good pitch to hit? Helton became the abnormal one because he could take a ball that not many people could hit and plaster it. So I had to get better than that eventually. Did you get a good pitch to hit? Yeah. So what didn't you like? Well, I would have him break it down. But you know what would happen mostly? Then he'd go and do the same thing and finally he'd come back by the fourth time and said, why are you asking me? You don't even listen to what I'm sharing. There comes a point in time when you have to trust my eyes to help you hit. Because we didn't have video back in the day when I played. You talked to the hitter next to you. We couldn't go in between innings. So it's self-identification, self-awareness. Like yourself, even when you're not hitting good, you've had good success somewhere along the line. And one of the things I would share with hitters, especially if they went through a slump. So what are you now? You know, because I'd act like I didn't know. What are you now? They knew. I'm 0 for 15. You know what? Can you hit? Yes, I can hit. Then you're about to get hot. End of story. If you can hit, you're about to get hot. Mindset. So much of this relates back to mindset. One of the biggest things Helton developed that I shared with him, the guys in Colorado know this, was the on-deck circle. The walk to the batter's box. The thought process out of the dugout, into the batter's box, then into the box. We have something that he preaches and shares in spring training.
Speak to that.
I will in a second, but I want to give you the other hitter that had some success. And then mid-season, we made a change that I've never made with anybody else. And he pulled it off. And he went on to have an MVP season. And I worked with this guy as much as I've ever worked with any hitter. Josh Hamilton in 2010. I was fired in Colorado. I went over to be the hitting coach of the Rangers.
Yeah.
He'd had some success, but they were all half success. First half, bad second half. Slow first half, good second half. He never put a full year together. So he comes in. There was a couple reasons why John Daniels brought me in. We had a lot of commonality, common fabric off the field at times as well. So I could have hard conversations with him. Spring training, what do you want to do? Well, my leg kick. I feel I'm best with my leg kick. Okay, do you like my leg kick? I said, it doesn't matter whether I like it. I'm your hitting coach. I'm here to work with you. best version of yourself. We go through spring. He's got a leg kick. He's hitting 4-5, whatever. It's a great spring. He's facing number 5 starters, whatever it is. You know, it's spring training. He's not facing 1s and 2s and 3s in June and July, but he rakes. We get into the season, 1 month, 2 months, Ron Washington, the manager, calls me in the office, how long are you going to let him be mediocre? And I said, can I go hands-on? Can I go full metal jacket with him? He said, today. I said, gotcha. June 1st, if you look up the numbers, after 2 months, Josh was hitting maybe 260. He might have had 7 home runs. They were pedestrian for that kind of guy, pedestrian. And we weren't going anywhere with Hamilton being pedestrian. So he comes in that day and he says, I've had it. You know, what do you got? I said, the same thing I've been sharing with you since you asked me in spring training. I said, can the leg kick? First time ever, he goes, can you show me what I need to do? I said, let's go to the cage. In Chicago, they got 1 cage. You don't have your own cage, so we had a limited amount of time. We go down there, we work for 45 minutes with 1 player, no leg kick. Get him in the launch position, get him wide, heel up, bump, bump, toe up, and just getting swings off, right? Just to feel it, away middle in. Can't hear it. Okay? But if we start with a tee, then we go to flips. I've always taken a hitter back to the tee when they're struggling to stop the ball for them. Then we go to flips. Then I start short arming some velocity.
Wait a second. So you mean that you use a tee and that worked? But that's not game-like enough, right, pro ball?
So I get a couple guys to hit with him. He didn't want to hit with somebody else while he was working on something new. I said, no, trust me. I want you to take swings, but I want you to step out. These guys could use some help too today. Be a good teammate. Okay. So we go through the process where we're short screen. There's some velo, but it's coach velo. I'm throwing, 65 miles an hour? And I'm grunting to throw it. But, he's hitting balls. He hasn't lost power. First thing, I'm going to lose power. No, you're not. So we go through all this. It's June 1st. His first at bat, I think it was second, third, 1 out. Burley's on the mound, pop up the short, doesn't score the guys. Comes back, no leg kick. Comes back in the dugout, helmet flies. Next at bat, bases loaded, 1 out. I think he grounded into a double play, no leg kick. Goes back to the end of the dugout. Johnny Nairn was his accountability partner. Good major league hitting coach, minor league hitting coach. Jerry Nairn's brother. He was working with me like an assistant hitting coach before anybody had him. He goes down and tells Johnny, he goes, that's it. You go tell that old man I'm not doing this anymore. And Johnny, I could hear him at the end. Johnny says, no, you go down and tell that guy that just poured 3 hours into you today that you're going to give it 2 at-bats and quit. So here he comes, and I'm thinking, dude, he's coming down here. He's going to unload, let me have it, and we're done. He's screaming as he goes by me, screaming as he goes down the stairs. I hear a bunch of noise, comes back up. Third at bat, couple men on base, double, no leg kick. Next at bat, no leg, home run. Ended up with 3 hits that night, drove in, I think, 4 or 5 runs. June 1st, 49 hits in the month of June. He hit without a leg kick the rest of the year, won the MVP. I've never had a player dramatically in the middle of the season and just take it down and own it from that point in. We don't know what we don't know. And half the buy-in is just trying something and trusting somebody else to try it.
Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Right? There's some powerful stuff in that. The data is not going to show up there. I promise you, forget about the new school coaches. They already have data systems. For all of you other coaches, the old school guys, if you want to convince your players that they can hit the ball hard consistently and make it look easy, you better get a damn system. If you want to work with pitchers and you want to get them to throw the ball hard and make it look easy, you better get a damn system, because they won't believe you if you don't have the data. I can tell you right now, like when we work with pitchers, there's a lot of times where we have it on every day. We don't always show them the numbers that they're getting. right? And I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a player and gotten them to slow down and do something at a low effort, right? And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not hitting the ball that hard. Oh, yeah, dummy? Here's the number. Oh, yeah, but I'm not throwing that hard. Guy tops out 91. He just hit 90.2, and he's at 50% perceived effort. Like, unless they see it, it doesn't matter. So unless you want them to continue to swing like monkeys and throw like monkeys and just try to, like, get a system to convince them that you know what the hell you're doing, okay? Because if you're doing a good job, it'll show up in the data, okay? And the other reason why something like that works is because, here's a fun fact, 80% of the velocity comes from the top down, because it doesn't come from the legs, which is why the leg kick doesn't add power either. All of that is stupid. This is our upper body drill. So kicking a soccer ball is with your legs, but throwing a ball is too. What is wrong with you? We let ourselves get convinced of all of this nonsense, but it's nonsense. It's upper body driven. The last 20% is the sequencing of how we apply force into the ground from the upper body. That's it. It's not the legs.
Now I'm going to tell you another thing about a good hitter. Good hitters, more often than not, they have short memories. Vinny Castilla. You ever remember the name Vinny Castilla?
Third baseman.
Vinny Castilla never knew he was in a slump. 4 games ago wasn't in his world. 3 games ago was never in his world. Some days he'd be in the dugout. I'd look down at his hitting coach. He's punched out 3 times. It's looked rough. I walk down and say, Vinny, you okay? He goes, hey, cuz. Next at bat, 1 for 4 with a bomb. I'm going to be good. Just his mindset. But one day he was in a ditch. We're going to LA. He's got people in LA. He's got to find a swing. He's going to have family, all this. So we go out early to hit one day, and I'm talking to him about bat path. I said, you're in and out too quick. What you mean? I said, you're not staying on the ball. What you mean? You're out and around. What you mean? I said, okay. Go stand on home plate. Get a bat in your hand. I said, I want you to take an as aggressive swing as you're going to take tonight off Hershiser. I want you to take a swing, and I want you to let go of the bat when you visualize a line drive to center field. So everybody here that's a hitter, you think about taking your best swing and when you're going to let go of that bat to hit a line drive to center field. Right? Vinny gets in there, and he gives me an A+ effort. He takes his swing, lets go of the bat. The bat goes that way. It goes over the on-deck circle in the Dodgers dugout, up over their dugout, about 25 rows into their stands. And he looked at me, he goes, oh my God, my bat path. He goes, I'm out and around. He goes, I'm in and out. I go, yeah. And I said, now do it again. And it was like the biggest swing. He let go. The bat helicopters out in the center field as true and as pretty. That was the end of our hitting lesson that day. We never hit a ball. You just never know how you're going to get it done.
And that's why anyone that looks at this and look, we should all be open-minded. Everybody should be trying to learn and get better. But to think that great hitting coaches haven't existed before data is stupid. And to think that we shouldn't be using it to make our players better is also stupid. What is wrong with people? Well, why doesn't it make sense to just do both? Why are we so dumb? What is that? It always has to be this. Andy McKay, who I love, God, he's been so good to me over the years. He came out and did the keynote for Bridge the first 5 years in a row. And one of the things that Andy talked about one of the years was why in the game, and I'm going to ask you, why do you think everybody just goes so far off, just like the T thing, right? There's a million reasons on top of the fact that it's always worked, why I could sit here and even scientifically explain why it's good to use the T. Why do we have to all of a sudden get rid of it? Now it's bad because it's not game-like, even though the greatest hitters in the world tell you it helped them. What if you have another hitter in your organization or on your team or at your high school that freaking needs that? Well, why do you make it more about your program than about the results for the players? What the hell is wrong with you? Find a way to allow them the freedom to have all the tools that they need. right? Give them whatever it is that they need. That's exactly, he's talking about going to them at their level, finding out what he can do to help them because it's their career. Holy crap, what an odd concept, right? It's like I find us talking about that all the time, but then you got a big leaguer that's been doing that for how long? I got something I want to ask you.
I got 5 minutes.
Okay, so perfect. And so this is a thought process that I've kind of gone down, and I like taking ideas that I have or concepts and then throwing them off of really smart guys and seeing what people say. So a lot of you, even if you follow content, probably have never heard of this before. So recently, I've been thinking a lot over the last year about looking at hitting like a clock. Because it is, it's circular and it's unwinding and there's a predetermined length it can grow to and all that. So think of it like we got 12 here and we got 6 o'clock here, okay? When I look at swings, it's like there's big leaders that can hit at 4 and 5 o'clock, but they can only hit at 4 and 5 o'clock. It's like your Chris Davis, right? That guy might hit, 220, but he might hit 35 or run into 35, right? And then you got guys like, say Tony Gwynn, right? Tony Gwynn never hit at 4 or 5 o'clock. Tony Gwynn hit at 1 and 2 o'clock all time. Right? He always got his. You want to talk about somebody who had time? Maybe he might be the only guy who had all that time, right? Like he was playing Pepper out here. Okay, but he never hit at 4 and 5. I feel like the greatest hitters in the world, and this is why I hate when people talk about timing. Like I like it as a concept, but most of the time when we have hitters come in and they say timing is important to them, they got a crappy swing. They're in and out. So it's like they have to be on time. It's like the greatest hitters in the world, they have the ability to hold position against the front, and they can hit at 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 o'clock. Right. What are your thoughts on that? When I say that, where does your head go? What would you add to it, or what do you like, not like?
Well, no. First of all, I don't know if you're going to get any two hitting guys agree on everything. But it's not about disagreeing. It's just what I don't see it maybe that way.
Seeking to understand.
Wow. And I've got two buddies over here, Trevor Burmeister, Darren Everson with the Rockies. That, we do all the drills. We do include velocity. We do a ladder drill early with some guys. We incorporate all of it. Sometimes these guys have comfort programs where they've got their own binkies, their own blankets that makes them feel good to get ready, to prep, to activate. So we have all the different tools in the tool belt, but then it shrinks down to knowing what tools are best served for them. If I want to be a master craftsman, how good do I need to be with a hammer? But to talk about hitting on a clock, I think that works for a lot of people. The cerebral, I've had a bunch of hitters, I can't even take that conversation anymore.
I'm telling you, I wouldn't talk to a hitter about that.
No, exactly. But from my standpoint, the good hitters, I said it today, I sent out one hitting tweet. I'll probably send out 5 or 6 hitting tips all year. I sent one out today. And it's one of the things we talk about. It's a mantra for me when I go and see our young kids. When you're ahead of the count, don't be late. When you're behind in the count, don't be early. It's like putting on a hit and run to a hitter. We all know what a hit and run is. It's not used very much anymore, but it's the manager's put on a sign because he trusts the hitter. He's a good hitter, can handle that whatever pitch is going to be thrown, he's going to swing, put it in play, try to shoot an open hole, run a ball in the gap, mix the game up a little bit. But he trusts the hitter putting the ball in play. If you're a hitter and you get a hit and run sign, do you want to be out early on your front foot and swing at something in the dirt that's bouncing? You don't want to be early. You don't know what's coming. You hold your ground, you settle, you let the ball travel, and then you just battle, do the best you can do. And I found that's a good way. When you talk about the clock, I'll tell the hitters, you want to play the game. You want to play it out here. OPS is out in front, but if you can start at 3 o'clock, but you can learn how to work at 4 and 5 when you're behind in counts, but no, when you're ahead in counts, it's out front. Don't be late when you're ahead in the count, and don't be early when you're behind.
That's really good, and I would say for all the coaches here, like literally, if you could take one hitting tip from this entire convention, that's pretty brilliant. I mean, I think everybody would agree that's a very interesting way to look at it. I've never looked at it like that. Like we say things like don't be late or don't be early or be extra early or be extra late, but to look at it in those situations like that, I think is brilliant. And to close out, I do want to make something clear. All things that get said are being said based on populations of people that you see and or work with. I don't want anyone here to hear what I'm not saying. Velocity machine makes players better. There are players who need that, and that makes them better. But the problem is that everybody just goes all in and they forget about this. They say, we're never going to do this anymore. Like, that's the problem. Give them exposure to everything and maybe release it a little bit and allow them to kind of help guide it, right? Like maybe ask them what they like instead of telling them what they need to do. There's a wild idea, right? Let the athlete whose career it is maybe make a decision. Yeah. Clint, look, man, thank you so much for being so gracious with your time. You're a phenomenal human being. I appreciate so much that I can call you and ask you questions,
yeah,
brother.
We're good.
I look forward to seeing you later on tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.